name? I've got it written down here.
You got it written down
Yeah. Okay, Jerry Springer, and that's enough.
Where did you grow up?
Oh, spent a lot of time in Midway.
And how old are you now?
Oh, I'm in my beyond 30, 33.
30 plus?
Yeah. Well, maybe 84 or something. It might be closer.
Somewhere around there?
Yeah.
So you've been around the block a few times?
Partway, yeah.
Partway around the block? So how long have you been working on Midway history?
Oh, a long time.
I know I've been working on it with you for
A long time.
probably, the last 15, 20 years?
Yeah, around close, 18, 20 years.
Yeah. I know we've done a lot of presentations together.
We have.
And this one's about Midway history in the early years.
Uh-huh.
So we'll get started on it.
Okay.
Okay, tell us about who these people are.
Well, they look familiar. One's a Murdoch and the other is Dr. Green. And that's O.D. Halverson. That's the best I can tell you. It's been a long time since I've looked at them.
And Doc Green was quite the historian in the valley.
Uh-huh.
Okay, this slide is about the earliest people in the valley.
Okay.
So we had the Indians. We had Atene Provost.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember him?
Well, I know of him. I don't remember
Not
him.
quite personally.
Yeah. Oh, this is some of the travelers that visited the valley and the Mormon settlements. Of course, the Shoshones were here. A.T. Provo was later found. And John Fremont in the 40s. And right behind him was Joe Walker, an early explorer, came out here. This is before we were settled. It's kind of what it looked like before there were homes. This is after we were settled, but it's that's what it looks like now pretty well today, taken from over on River Road.
This slide is about the pioneer influence. So what can you tell me about what brought the pioneers here?
Land. They could settle 160 acres easily. There's plenty of water. It was an important place to be.
And they came from Nauvoo area?
Uh-huh. Places around this is a photograph here from the Independence Rock. Seen that?
Mm-hmm. And who's this David Wood, captain of the 1852 6th Company?
Yeah, they came out of Iowa, arrived in Provo area in October of that particular year. It was about in 52, something like that. It was 52, so.
And it says 288 persons left Canesville, Iowa in June 1852. You've got a good memory.
Okay. Yeah, early October, that's about when it was.
And they arrived down in Provo. So did they come up here because we have the front side of Timp?
Yeah,
We have this picture of the backside of Timp down in Provo.
That's a good picture, a real good photograph. That's farmlands.
And they settled American Fork and Pleasant Grove area.
Uh-huh. PG we called.
Mm-hmm.
Took a while.
You went to school in Pleasant Grove, didn't you?
I did part of the time. Part in Midway, and spent 1 year in Park City. Mom was a Park City girl. So.
And we have a picture of Bridalveil Falls here.
Yes. Yeah, that's a beautiful falls. Sometimes it's spread right out and it looks like a big veil, a wedding veil, maybe 40 feet wide from the road. It just looks really blossoms right out some years. That's when there's a lot of water coming down.
And what's this about the William
Wall? One of the early, it ran a toll bridge down in Provo Canyon, and he was one of the owners.
That was down by the power plant at the mouth of the canyon,
About
isn't it?
there, the general area.
Charged people to cross his bridge. And what Captain James H. Simpson, do you know, can you tell me about him? He's in this slide.
Well, he came pretty well out of the Olmsted area in Provo Canyon, spent time through it with his group, and was among the very first to come into the valley, not the first, but among the first, coming from the Provo side instead of Salt Lake side. Well, that's just a good painting of the early camp, the Indians, with him in the background. You can see the face and the arms crossing each other in the mountain. If you look, you have to be looking at it to see that, but
The sleeping
you
princess.
can see that.
So the Indians used this valley as their summer camp. It was nicer than being down in the heat.
That's Meek's Bottoms in the 50s. You know, I've seen that one back also in the 1850s. They did brought a lot of timber out of the different ranges around, especially Uintas. The Gardeners were a family that was quite involved in road building. When they said road building, it was just moving rocks so you can get a wagon through. No asphalt in those days.
So the road up Provo Canyon started to be used more for industry. So the Gardner brothers in 1852.
Yes.
Tell me about this painting.
That's one of Earl Young's paintings. I don't know if you remember her here in town, but that's Soldier Hollow, with a big golf course down there now, has been. And that's my Jeremiah Roby and Ruth Tucker Roby. Oh, this, yeah, those are just old family members, really early settlers. Sidney, the Eppersons, Sidney and his wife Jean. I don't know if you remember them talking about her at all.
So you have roots clear back to the early settlers. Tell me about Ephraim
That's
Hanks.
Mound City. Yeah, that's Hanks was one of the earliest to settle what's Snyder's hot pot. It was Snyder's hot pot. That's one of the larger pots, they called them, or mound, where the word comes from.
So Snyder's is now Homestead.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And they actually had a little development up there, a little city, a group of settlers, and they called it Mound City.
That's right.
And he was one of the first ones to...
Very first, well, among the very first.
Yeah, Mound City resident.
Okay, that's just a nice painting done of what Tim, and that's a beautiful painting. I remember that.
So when the settlers came in, the valley was full of sagebrush.
It was nearly full. It was, there was open land too, but it was a lot of sagebrush. They had to remove a lot of it, and it took a lot of grubbing, a lot of shovel work to make it plantable, so you plant different kinds of crops.
And these are some of...
Just how they lived.
Okay.
The first one, usually just out of the old wagon, they take it off the box and turn it into a kind of a cabin, about a one-roomer. And a lot of log homes built.
And tell me about the dugouts.
Oh, that was important. They could dig into a tunnel maybe 10, 15 feet in, and they wouldn't have to provide some building material that was already there. It was rough living, but it was keep them dry in the winter and warm in the winter, and so on. And that's a good picture of of a crew doing log work and trimming logs, getting them flat so they can put them into a building.
And these are all sketches by Murdoch,
Uh-huh.
Vernon Murdoch.
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, there's quite a number of Swiss settled in Italy. They were never the majority. They were a minority, but there were a lot of them. The Oplanalt family was one of the larger families. Eglers, there were several of them down there that you might recall. That's my great-great-grandpa, Jacob Arnold Bigler and Pauline Ott. That's my dad's middle name was Ott. That's when this is after the Transcontinental Railroad was constructed, when those pictures were taken. Been in the late 1860s sometime.
And that event really started to change the way the valley was settled.
Yes, probably. Well, those are some of the Swiss missionaries. I have the names of some of them. We know Ulrich Beglin, of course, Coonies, and the Gurches. There were plenty of those. This just kind of shows the population of the adults on that particular screen, in comparison to on certain years.
So the Swiss population.
Yeah, they were a lot of Swiss and Europeans, like Dirties and the Gurches.
Especially in those early years.
Yes.
They were instrumental in settling Midway.
Yeah, these Kohlers played a major role in the early history of Midway. Yes, the Kohler family, that's Albert and Ernest and Fred. I don't remember them, I just know the name. I know Roy Kohler really well. He did all my plumbing work, his family did. They have a little restaurant down in, well, you know where that is, here in town.
So is this is, so we talked about Mound City.
You can,
Mound City was up on the hill.
Well, yes.
Where the homestead is.
That's how it got its name, the Mound City, because of the mounds, yes.
And then a lot of these other settlers were settling down lower where they could farm.
That's right, they were. Okay, this is a grist mill they had, these are paintings. They do good. Blacksmith shop, those are real good drawings, sketches. They're all important in the lumber business.
So this talks about the up Snake Creek. They had a lot of timber.
A lot of timber taken out of Snake Creek, and a lot of minerals too taken out of there. We'll talk maybe about that in a minute. The mining that took place there. Well, that was the Indian removal order back in the early 60s. They set this part of the Uinta River into a reservation for Indians back in about the early 1860s, 1860 about. Okay, and it was, President Lincoln had these Indian removal order that particular year, and it put them into reservations.
So is this is right after the settlers of the area decided to come together, wasn't it? So they had the settlements down by Soldier Hollow.
There's some.
They had some down there and where the Price Farm is, in the lower areas.
Yes.
And then they had the settlement up at Mound City.
Yeah,
up closer to Snake Creek.
It is.
And they were having trouble with some of the
Indians.
The Utes.
Yeah.
And so they came together.
Met,
And
there's my great aunt Coleman. She's a Coleman, Emily Springer Coleman. She's born in the early fort. Midway, one of the earliest ones. Passed away a while back.
So they built a fort?
They were there during it when it was.
And what did they call the fort?
Fort Midway. It was halfway between two different places. It's kind of.
That's such an original name.
Yeah.
So they came halfway between them, and where was Fort
That's
Midway
why it's called
located?
Midway. Halfway between the two communities.
And do you remember where it was located?
Just about right where it is there on the painting.
It's
You can see the canyons behind the background, Snake Creek Canyon.
Yeah. It's where the town hall is today. That square. And this is cool for me because I'm a surveyor, and this is one of the early. This is the first map of Midway City.
Yeah.
1866.
Yeah, the Hoobers and Atwells and others were involved in that.
And
back
one
in
of
the
your ancestors,
1860s.
Sidney Epperson.
Some of them are.
Yeah.
Emily and yeah. I have all the Lethe journals and diaries at my home, or in my home, wherever that is now.
This is your home.
People like to come and go thumb through them, you know.
Yeah.
See who came there to visit them. Well, this is the locations of various families up to about the late 1860s, and the early what we called Fort Midway then. And you've got some relatives, I'm certain, on that somewhere. I don't know where they'd be, but yeah, certainly you dig them out there.
Yeah, I might have a few in there.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Most of my ancestry came from the Heber side of the valley.
Yeah, it was.
But you have several family members in here.
Yeah, I do.
You have the Eppersons and the Robies.
And there are some others in there too, so I'd have to look through them real quick. That's kind of a complicated one. Sidney Everson, I don't know if you remember those names. But, okay, and those, they all settled in that area. Yeah, that's a good summary there. Who put that together?
And tell me about this flag. It doesn't look quite right.
Yeah, I know. It's one of the early Fort Midway flags. I can't remember the history behind the exactly how it came, but it's hung over on the original one that's still up. That used to be up on Midway days or Swiss days. They'd hang it. I think it was the original one. I don't know who has it now. Probably in some museum someplace.
It's still up in the community center.
Okay.
Where they have
yeah,
it
is hanging up inside that building. So.
Yeah, they framed it and put it up. It's got a lot of history.
It does.
Do you remember who made it?
I think there's some Eppersons in there and a few others. I have to look on that, just who that is.
You've got Mary Jane Roby Epperson and her daughters in that picture.
That picture was taken a long time ago, that one particular one.
Yeah, probably back in the 1850s. Late 1850s.
Or the 40s, could have been in the early 40s too.
So this
Mary Jane Roby Everson, that's her daughter there. And I think that flag still is in existence. I can't remember if we got it or whether we turned it over to the Historical Society a few years ago.
Yeah, I think you donated it to the city.
Yeah, I think we did.
Yeah, yeah, it's in the town community center.
Yeah.
So this map was compiled by Matilda R. Springer, Emily Springer Coleman.
Yeah, those are some of my great-grandparents.
And Molly Epperson.
And they were in-laws.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good photograph there of them. Especially the daughters. That's John Huber. You remember him, and that's their home. Their homestead, they called it. That's not too far from Snake Creek, near the mouth of the canyon. And that's one of the Price family's dairy farms on the it's the lower part of the valley or of the creek. Yeah, it's the lower Snake Creek area where that's located. That's a nice picture of the family. I've got that hanging, I think, in my home room one of the rooms in my home. Mm-hmm. I have two homes. I have this place and I have my home. So.
This is all down in the kind of the flat area down.
It's level, yes,
yeah.
It was. Where they could. Oh, there's some nice old photographs. I'm glad we haven't had them out for a while.
And the Huber Homestead, they've restored some of those buildings up there at at the mouth of Snake Creek Canyon.
They have. Okay, you don't think of sugar beets much in Midway, but we did raise them here. The Gottlieb barn. Oh, that's a nice picture of the corrals down at the Little Deer Creek. And I don't know who gave me that threshing crew, but I remember it was one of the ladies here in town. And that's been 50 years ago, too. Yeah.
An old steam-powered thresher.
Yeah. Yeah, sugar beets was a major project, major. Yeah, it was important. I can remember the trailers with a big pile of beets hanging on. Okay, go ahead and turn the next, I guess.
So they grew hay and sugar beets.
Oh yeah.
So farming was pretty major industry.
It was, especially hay and alfalfa.
Where did they take the sugar beets?
Right in about the very same area.
Didn't they have a sugar processing plant down in
the lower part of the Snake Creek? Yeah, there was one down there someplace.
Yeah, they'd process the sugar.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's Alexander Alva. He was on an early town board for a long time. And this just shows the increase of population, which is kind of remarkable. It should have moved up fast, just in a matter of about 10 years.
Yeah, in 1910, they had a population of about 1,000 people.
Something like that, yeah. That's David Van Wagner. He was the bishop of the Midway Ward back in the 1890s, late 1880s.
So the early members of the community were leaders of the LDS Church and of the city.
That's
community.
Right.
So they kind of had dual purpose, didn't they?
Yeah. If you notice, Midway population really grew quickly back in the beginning, about 1892 or early 1890s, in about an 18-20 year period. Oh, there's some of my great-grandparents.
Tell me about these folks.
They were among the first register or homestead, the 160 acres that they had in those days. It was, that's where the old Johnson Mill was located, close to where they settled. Oh, they got the old main street there. I see of Midway too. It's fun to look at these old photos again. I haven't looked at these for a long time.
So your family's homestead was basically from Mitchie Lane up to Memorial Hill.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And clear over almost to the river and almost to River Road. So it was a big chunk of property.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Tilly and they called her Tilly. Matilda was her name, but okay.
And they built a house. Their home was over just west of Town Square.
I think so.
next to the house that you grew up in.
Uh-huh.
And
Or lived in, you say that. I grew in a couple homes and grew up there.
So that was Nathan Chapman and Matilda Roby Springer.
Right.
And I remember, this is interesting to me too, because I research patents, land patents. And you had a copy of the original land patent
You did, that's
for
right.
this on your wall, and it was signed by the president.
Yeah. I still got stuff stuck away. I don't even know where it is. I know that a lot of people would like to have copies of this, and I don't. My kids have got them in cardboard boxes someplace. So, that's the old tithing settle house.
So in this, the tithing house, it still exists today.
That tithing office, I don't know where the bell is now, but I know it's still around somewhere. And that's a picture of the old Midway Second Ward, about 1910 or 15, about 1915 it said. And the old First Ward building too. Most of them are all gone now.
So those are gone. Those two big stone structures are gone now.
Yep.
But the Midway Ward, the 1895, that building still exists.
Yeah, it is.
It's
I
part
wonder
of,
how it's done it. You know, handled all the winters it's gone through.
It's still part of the old community center on Main Street.
It is.
And it's their multi-purpose room is.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
What's
Multi-purpose.
left of the structure, and you can still see on the side of that the original windows and.
Yep.
And the belfry is pretty much where that belfry is still.
Yeah, that's the old German Hall. The grocery store down there, the Van Wainers had, that's about where that's located now. So it's and this is a Bonner's Mercantile. I can't see, it doesn't say Bonner's, but I think maybe it does. But
Yeah,
I can't read it.
the red
but that
brick
is a
store.
Bonner's store. So.
Yep. And some of these structures were on the square.
Yes.
I know the German Hall
was.
it was turned into a home, and it's on First North, just north of Town Square.
Yes, that's about the right
And
word. Yes.
it's
Hey, you
still-
know as much as I do about it.
I learned it from you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was important. That Van Wagner store. It's now owned by. Have you been there lately in the building at all? Or?
no, that building doesn't exist
Yeah,
anymore.
I know, but the building next to where it was. Oh, that's John Watkins, and Coleman's. They were all intermarried. I don't know if you ever heard of Thiacold Henry, Thiacold Coleman. This is some of their home. That still exists today too. In fact, I go past it every once in a while when I walk down to the main street of Midway.
The old gingerbread houses.
Yeah, it is. I got all the Lacey's Tadgies. You know, they have a book. They should have them sign. I've got all of those record books at home.
That's really cool.
And all of those who visit her. I've got all those things, and all the kids want them. The kids are all 80 years old. They want them back, but I said, you'll just sell them to somebody, and I'm hanging on to them as long as I can. But and if you ever come up to the house, the house, I getting confused with this building. When I say where I live, I do have a home.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. Okay, let's go to the next one. But I have some great photographs of Lisa, and I have all her journals, and everybody wants them, and who. It's just interesting who come and visit her. You know, governors and others, pretty famous here. There's her names signed on that, and she wouldn't let you in the building unless you signed that thing, sign your name. Okay, I'm sorry I got carried away there.
Oh, that's good. So John Watkins built that home.
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
They all had about the same style.
So he built several of the homes in Midway, the old gingerbread-looking ones.
Yeah. Oh, there's the old Luke's. We owned it. Our family owned that for a long time. That's when Joe and Pauline had it. Joe was he was from Kentucky, a horseman. They came out west here. I think he was coming out here had something to do with rodeoing. Joe had, and he liked Midway, and he went to a restaurant, and Pauline, my dad's sister, was waiting tables there. They got talking, got interested in each other. He came back to visit her, and Joe, they ended up getting married, and they owned Luke's Hot Pots. And we owned it, our mom and dad, my mother and father. It's now called Mountain Spa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they call it Mountain Spa. But Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and all those, Virginia Mail, fell in love with her. You wouldn't remember Virginia Mail. She was, you can't describe her without using your hands. You know. I'm sorry about that, a lady resident here. Okay, hey, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah. And I know when we found this this picture of the Coleman store, that was kind of fun.
Lacey's home was just on the other side of that pine tree. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So this is about where the grocery store is now, the Ridley's grocery store.
Oh. Riley's, is that what it's called?
Ridley's.
Ridley, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Ridley.
Yeah.
There's a pretty good one picture of Snyder's. A lot of these are so old, and you wonder where the original is. We're just lucky we've got these copies, you know. And I let people have them, you know, just don't make money off of it. You use it and hang it on your wall, and and you can have them, any of them you want. And they want them, so there's a lot of my photos. I didn't take the picture, I just had a copy of it. They've got copies that I gave them. I didn't mean to rattle on that, so go to the next one.
So this is the outside
That's the
pool
outdoor pool there.
up at Homestead. It's still there.
They called it Snyder's in those days. The Snyder
Snyder's.
family was the one that settled it. So.
Yep. And the old soda fountain inside.
That's quite a fountain. That was a good place to go have a good. We called them milkshakes. I don't know, nut sundaes. You've heard the phrase, I know. So. Okay, go ahead. Sorry I'm taking so long on here. I'm trying to hurry through.
No, don't hurry. Just
well, I know.
tell us all you can.
Oh, this is Park City Mining Company over in Keatley. My dad worked there. And this is just a map showing where from Midway, where some of these locations like Park City and Keatley and some of these are located from Midway, so you can kind of have an idea where.
It's kind of centrally located to the mines.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So mining was another important industry.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that in a few minutes too. I know there's photographs coming up. Oh, this Snake Creek Mining District again. This is you can see the copper and gold outcropping, and that's how we got it was a huge claim, a huge hole in the ground, and they referred to it as the Green Monster Claim. That's where the name came from. And this is a Steamboat Mining Company's stock certificates. Oh, and these are some of my family. This is Nathan Springer, who was the district recorder for years, and Nathan Epperson, who was also on that committee. And Jeremiah Roby is deputy recorder for the mining district. You know, I haven't seen these for quite a while. I'm kind of excited about them myself.
It's fun,
I got them home somewhere. Okay, go ahead.
That green around the mouth
copper.
of that, that's copper.
That's the color. It's all just stained green. That's why it got the name Green Monster. That's because of the greenness in it. Oh yeah, this is the general area that Midway Irrigation Company covered. Yeah.
So we had
the Buellers and Smiths and others were Wilson, JB. They're all board members. That irrigation company was really important. It went off to a U.S. Supreme Court case. Hopefully it's on there. We'll talk about that in a minute. So, okay, go ahead if you want to.
So water was very important.
Very important, I'll say.
And how was the water tied to the mines?
A lot of it came especially out of Snake Creek.
The Snake Creek mine had a lot of water that came out.
A great deal. Sometimes you couldn't get up the canyon because there was so much water. I mean, the team of horses, or the road would be washed right out. So, and they'd go up there and clean it so they get the guys up to the mine. Oh, that's the Lower Snake Creek near Smith Grove.
That's right down at the bottom in the Price property.
Yeah, the big ditch down there was really huge. It was Epperson built it. Somewhere it'll say Epperson. This is.
We had the West
There it
Bench
is
ditch,
down there. Yeah.
and then the Epperson ditch was a little bit lower.
And then there's the bench stick. One of the bench, just you can barely see Tim. Yeah, there it is. That's yeah.
Timp right there.
Yeah. Well, this is fun for me. I hope I'm not boring everybody. I'm getting wrapped up into this.
This is great. So these ditches would take that water from Snake Creek
And
the mines.
ends up in the water goes and ends up in the reservoir, the Deer Creek Reservoir. That's looking west from where the road down to the lower Stringtown, they called it. There it is, right on the front there. So
this would get that water to those agricultural uses
it did.
down in the lower ends.
Oh, that's just Epperson and Springer Springs. It appears it still looks just about like that. That's Captain Bess Springer, who is, and Gerber Springs. That's another one up there too. Oh, and Mahogany. Oh, we got them all, haven't we?
Yep.
He was Cap Springer was in the military, and he was a captain, and that's how he got the name Cap. So, okay, go ahead and change it. I'm sorry.
No,
I get talking too much.
So Springer Springs.
Yeah, that's named after the Springer family up in my great grandfather.
So they used all of these for culinary use. So this was their drinking water.
A large amount of it.
And a lot of the mine water went to the agricultural use. The irrigation company. So it was a good place. We had a lot of water.
It did. Oh yes. That's the manager of the Ontario. Chambers was his name. There's Brim Hall. These are all more over in the Park City area. Silver Lake.
Yeah, so
look, there's the Ontario Drain Tunnel. A lot of that's gone. I've hauled it off to build for road building. The gravel from there now. It's fun to see these old photographs again.
So Lake Brimhall is up in Bonanza Flat area.
General area.
And then Midway Reservoir's up there as well.
Okay, go ahead. And
so we had quite a few reservoirs, and then the Ontario. Their drain tunnel.
Yeah, part of the Park City
there
side.
at Mayflower exit.
They were drain tunnels. They were driven, or what do you want to call it, to remove water so they get back in further where some of the more richer gold. There was a lot of gold and silver were taken out of there during that area. You don't think it is a gold mine, but boy, it was, especially in the Snake Creek area. So,
and little did they know that water was the gold mine.
Yeah, that's a...
So that water from the Ontario drain tunnel is still there. It's still active, and the Jordanelle.
As far as I know,
It is. I do a lot of work up in Jordanelle, and that water comes from the Ontario drain tunnel.
Yeah. Okay, that's the Provo River. It says it is, and the diversion dam. It still exists today. You drive by it. And of course, this is all the same. You're just looking across. Probably shot from Memorial Hill, I believe, when I took that picture. That's a long time ago. Yeah, that's.
So this brought the irrigation water from the Provo to the upper part of the valley.
Pretty well.
Those early pioneers were pretty smart.
Yeah. Well, these are great photos. I haven't looked at these for a long time.
And you took this lower one.
I think it was.
That's interlocking right here.
Yeah, interlocking.
The area
really
below,
changed,
which
really
is now
changed now. Yeah.
Valet, and it's changed a bit.
Yeah. The river ditch. I can remember that playing in that.
And that ditch is still active, and it fills the main reservoir for Midway irrigation. They use it to to put into their pressurized irrigation in the
That's
city.
right. These are some of the different lakes. That's the Mountain Lake portal. I remember in the 50s, John Sulzer and Sam Hare with his shotgun. There's some interesting stories behind that shotgun. Sometime when we got time, we talk about it. James Talmadge was really a mining. There's some things I need to check on before I. But James Talmadge was a principal mining engineer at the time. Daly Judge. You've heard of the Daly Judge mine? That was John Daly's one of these major mining operations out of Park City. Most of it out of Park City. The old courthouse down in Provo. That's gone now, I think. So.
And the Mountain Lake mine, that's up in Snake Creek, right?
Yep.
And you worked in the Mountain Lake mine for a while, didn't you?
I did. Lyle Gertz, you remember Lyle? We worked in the mines up there too. So. That's how we put ourselves through BYU and Utah State, working underground.
Mine money.
Yeah.
Well, who's this guy in this picture with the little hat?
Oh, I don't know. They're kind of homely looking, but can you tell who they are?
Yeah, I think that one on the right is you.
I think so too.
And I think you.
I was really a cute baby.
Did
Quick running over there.
Didn't you tell me that you were on like a scout trip or something?
Something, yeah.
To the Mountain Lake mine portal, and then you can see the water coming out of there.
You could. Yeah, that was
And that just fed into Snake Creek and down to the agricultural fields.
Talmadge was a church leader, LDS church leader. He was a mining engineer. I don't know if you knew that. That's how he made that was his career. And he becomes one of the most noted mining men. And you don't identify Mormon church with mining, but you do with Talmadge. Okay, I'm sorry. You go on. Oh, that was an interesting case. We were taken to the Supreme Court back in there's a date on there somewhere. It's probably 1910, something like that.
1911.
Where was it?
Yeah, you were right.
1910.
September 8th, 1911.
11. Okay. Yeah, there we go.
So what was the argument about?
Who owned the water rights?
To the water coming out of the mines.
Who owned it? We owned it. The Midway City and the residents of the city, not the mining company.
And that's what the big argument was about.
It was a big argument. It went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and they ruled in the favor. And my great-great-grandmother was one of the major, and Nathan Springer, great-grandfather, was one of the major witnesses in the trial. Yeah, we got these things hanging up on my wall. Well, you know that. That's where I got them off. Okay, I'm sorry. Go on to the next.
That was pretty key in the development and the growth of Midway.
That's right. Yeah, those were just the dependents and the pellets. And it was called the stream itself. The creek was called Springer Springs. I don't know if you've ever been there, but okay, let's try the next one. I know I'm talking too much.
No, you're not.
I know.
Perfect.
Oh, this is Snake Creek, upper Snake Creek. There's a lower and upper Snake Creek. This is the tunnel back in about 1912 or 14, and that's the leftovers after they've drilled in the dump. And that's the Snake Creek Tunnel flow point. And that's a lot of water coming out of there. I can remember that. You couldn't walk through it, it'd knock you over.
So we're not talking about just a little bit of water.
Not a little bit, a huge amount. And Midway was dependent upon that too. And it did create some water history wars. We'll maybe get into that in a minute. Go ahead.
But this all flood irrigated all those agricultural fields and the sugar beets and the hay. And it's kind of the lifeblood of the community.
It was. That's a good way to put it.
So this is where it goes to the
yeah,
Supreme
that was
Court.
a good one. That's my great-grandmother there, Wilford Van. They had a court case who owned the water, the irrigation company or the local Matilda, my great grandmother, this is back in 1909, he said, was one of the major stockholders in the mining company at the time, and helped when it went through the U.S. Supreme Court. We were able to win in that case, and saved the Midway irrigation water we use today. We hadn't lost it, hadn't been for the Van Wagners and it would have been.
He was the president of the Midway irrigation company
at the time. They saved Midway. They saved. Without the water, we wouldn't have had anything. Yeah. This is getting a little touching for me. Going through this. Okay, go ahead.
And this is one of the original shares. Yeah. It says she had 11 shares. 1909.
And that's Matilda. Tilly, they called her when she.
Yep. And you grew up in the house next to her.
I grew up there, not the home I live in now, but the one down across from the ice rink.
Yeah, you grew up there.
The ice rink or ballpark, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, right across from the ice rink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a group that some of my family was involved in. They were members of what they called the Snake Creek Mining District. I don't know if you're Theopolis, Robian, Cornelius, of course, and Sidney Eberson and Nate. Great-grandpa Nate was a U.S. Marshal that came out here, and that's how he came out here to solve a problem, some problems with the military and civilians, and he showed up on a train in Provo area and kept to come up here, and they said they hired him he was a U.S. deputy out of back east. They sent him to Utah to put down a riot in Park City, and they said you send only one man. Yes, sir, there's only one riot. we decided to send one man, and they sent my grandpa.
Wow.
This is getting kind of emotional. Okay, go ahead.
You've never told me that story before.
Oh, I talked to you about it sometime we got time.
That's wonderful. So a riot in Park City brought you to Utah.
Yeah. Oh, this is Jeremiah Roby. He was a trustee at the school district back many years ago for a lot of years himself, and one of the Wootons, early educators. And this shows one of the letters coming from that was sent between two different groups related to the school building. Mm-hmm. The building's gone now, but the foundation is still there, so you wouldn't know that.
Do they use that foundation or part of that foundation for the town hall? I understand that. Yeah, I think that part of that foundation is under the town hall. Oh,
that's a school register.
Yeah, I see the Springer there's missed a few days of school.
Yeah, that's that. You recognize some of the names on there. All of them are local, just about all of them. That just shows a register of who attended school in that particular year.
Yep. Yeah, we've got Hoovers and Bergners.
And some of those that came here were people like David O. McKay. You remember them talking about him.
The Beglins, those are some of the Swiss. And I think your grandpa's on that register somewhere.
He was.
Yeah, he's in there.
Yeah, those were. I think we're boring these people.
Oh no, not at all.
Okay, you look at all those names. There's too many to read.
Simon and Lydia.
Yeah.
Epperson.
Yeah, Epperson and Springers and Colemans were all relatives. You remember Pete Coleman? Mm-hmm. Old enough to remember? Okay. And Guy Coleman, old guy, yeah. Well, they were famous people. Not famous, but well known.
He was one of the...
I'm forgetting you guys are even here. What was that?
Pete was one of the mayors of Midway.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. Okay, come on. Turn on. I want to see what else.
Yeah, we want to see what's next. What's the significance of this one?
Well, those are just some of the early family Eversons were us. And David O. McKay, who you might remember when him and chairs and the Galley family. They were a huge family here in Midway. They were one of the early settlers. Yeah, there it says Jerry Spring. That's my grandpa, not me.
That's the old Pot Rock School.
It is. It was.
And you went
That's
to
in
that?
Here. I did. This is two different. This is the front and this is the back on my right. So and these are some of the students. Boy, most all of them are gone.
And you're in there.
Right there.
Yep. Your ears give you away.
Kind of homely kid. Yeah,
That was a day or two ago.
yeah, it was.
And the only reason that the city offices have a basement is
they've
because
got
of
to
this
change.
building. Because they're built right on the
Same
foundation.
side.
Yep.
Oh, that's just a member of the trustees of the John Huber for. It just shows the dollar amounts. It's not really important, but it shows how much payment they made to teachers and for any repairs or any. And it was just kind of something interesting I found and thought I'd make a copy of it. I'm glad I did. It's probably the only copy that exists.
And something that's interesting, the agricultural uses of the city were kind of supporting the city.
That's right.
They were feeding people, but it wasn't a big money maker. It was the mines that
Not
started
a big
bringing
money
money into the city. And so when we start seeing the donations and stuff to the schools and the church and other things.
Yeah, and the Hoobers were really involved. Okay. Oh, there's our old brass band. There's John, he was the early leader.
Music was a big influence
It really was.
In the town.
This is the second ward adult about 1940s, late 40s, 47. And the old band, North family, had all of them had a musical ability. They still do. They still are involved. Go ahead and move as you want.
And this is out in front of, the band is out in front of the old Watkins Coleman Hall.
Watkins. That you can see the home in the background there.
Yep. It looks like the road is dirt. So it's been a day or two.
Oh, there's Bill Howder. He was town hard board member for a long time. And this is just when they're starting to build the old building. This one and this is the same building.
So this was the town hall project.
Yeah, it is. That's what it looked like when they started building about 1940. 38 and 40. They took them about another 8 months to finish it after they got that far. Oh, there's Cascade. I recognize that. Of course, Mirror Lakes. I used to have pack horses. Did I tell you that? Pack mule horses. We spent a lot of time in the mountains, especially in Utah and in California. We spent in Sierra Nevada. We hauled horses from Midway clear to Mammoth Lakes, California. Okay, I'm sorry, I got carried away. We all enjoyed skiing.
So there were a lot of recreational opportunities.
There was. From Deer Creek Reservoir for boating and fishing to winter time. This is Park City here. Oh, there's a nice picture of there's Pauline. Pauline's the one that was involved with the movie stars out of Provo, out of California. This is Joe Irwin. He's the one that owned Luke's Hot Pots, bought it. And this is Charlie Sterrett. He's a famous movie star. You wouldn't remember him, but him. And Jimmy Wakely came up here with his band. And Joe would have, he was a golfer. They'd have a big tournament up here. And he was trying to get people to come to Luke's, to the Hot Pots. And boy, he started bringing them up, especially when he had Roy and Dale come up to visit. They spent about 2 weeks, took them out fishing down at Strawberry. Okay, go to the next one.
So who was that he brought up?
Pardon?
Who was that he brought up?
Roy Rogers. They took him and Dale out to the Strawberry Reservoir about 3 different times while they were up here visiting Luke's. Remember, it's Luke's. It's Mount Spa now, but and that gets a little confusing once in a while.
Tell me about the dining room there.
Which one?
The dining room when Dale and,
there might be a picture
and
in
Roy
here,
was up here.
coming up. Yeah, that was a huge dining room. They hold well over 100 people in there. Why don't you go to the next one? I think the next one's on there.
Is it on here?
Yeah. Yeah, there it is. There's the dining room. Look at that dining room. I mean, you should have seen it before, what it looked like, and now look at it, what it looks like. We had a lot of group up there. We had our own horses. We had about 30 head. Sylvan Berge, you would remember Sylvan, but he was the one that was over the horses. We charged them, I think, $2 a day, but it brought in a lot of money, and people wanted to just come to the hot pots to go ride those horses. So we had a lot of, and I was over the horse, over them. I worked with Orson Berge on that. And this is the dining hall after they remodeled it at Luke's. And this is Joe himself. And that's an old Auburn. You ever heard of Auburn, the car? That was his car. Dad ended up buying that and getting it from Joe.
And so what was your job at the hot pots?
Just about everything. From doing dishes to raking limbs to shoveling snow. Whatever they needed done, they needed a 10-year-old, 12-year-old. I was good at it. Yeah, those were the days. I'll start getting teary-eyed in a few minutes.
So tell me about the time that Roy Rogers and Dale Evans
that was fun. I got to eat dinner between them right at that table there. This table on this side is where they'd come and eat. And Roy was on one side of me and Dale was on the other side of me. And a couple of my cousins were there. I think there's some pictures of Dale and Roy in a minute. I hope they're in there. Oh yeah, there they are. These are the movie stars that visited Luke's. There's quite a few of them. Am I going too slow?
No, you're doing great.
Okay, I'll keep going. But there's Roy and Dale down in that left-hand corner, and Russ Hayden, you probably remember him. They were Western stars. Michael O'Shea, everybody. I fell in love with Virginia Mel the first time I saw her, and I was only 12 years old. There's some really sharp. We won't get into that. Burl Wives. Riders of the Purple Sage. That's been a long time. They all were at Luke's at one time or another.
And all
I did dishes with. We were overwhelmed sometimes with people coming, and keeping the dishes. You had a dishwasher, and it was going all the time. And they were us people. It was so interesting. It was just one big tray of dirty dishes coming in and dirty dishes being washed and taken back. Didn't people just eat off of that plate 2 minutes ago? Yeah. That's why you're here washing them, Jerry. Jerry Bob. Okay, I'm sure I got rattling on there. Let's go to the next one quick.
But one of those times, didn't Dale Evans come into the kitchen and help you out?
Yeah, she did. She come in and put an apron on and come out of the group. All of those helped me clean off, scrape off tables. And that's Dale Evans, a millionaire, helping this kid. Okay, come on, turn it to another page. Get off
That's
it.
fun. That's fun.
These were the Booster Club's first officers back in '47. They're some of them, you know who they are and who they're not. But Reed Kohler back then was the president. Franz Probst was the vice president. Leroy Huffaker. You remember those old Midway guys? Mm-hmm. They were all. This is Joe here. Joe, one in the center. Joe Irwin. He was a real cowboy from a father raised horses back. Let's go on. I'm getting to rattling here. Okay, go ahead. Hit the next one.
So Joe's early work, he was trying to bring business to his own business.
They brought him here too.
But it kind of stemmed in. It kind of went from there into building the Midway boosters and helping the whole community.
Yeah, he did. He was given a lot of credit for it. This is the Harvest Festival. These are the same old names like Everson, Gene Irwin, or Joe Irwin. Joe and Pauline really were involved in the Midway Harvest Days, they called it then. Now it's called Midway Swiss Days. And you can see all the names on there of different people, how much money they put in. So and so. Joe put up $10. And a lot of money came into the Lukes to help pay for some of these costs. Like the festival was fairly expensive put together, but they put it together, and it's now, of course, Swiss Days. Okay, we've got so many pictures here, I'm afraid we're going to bore everybody to death. Oh, that's the Harvest Festival. Yeah. A bubble dance, that sounds kind of bad, but it wasn't. It was, Franz Probst was over most of the time. That's when they formed the Booster Club. Joe had called this group together, and we're going to call ourselves. We want to boost Midway's history and boost people coming into the Midway, going to the Coleman store and the Mountain Lake, the Iversons and Mountain Spa. It was called different names then, though. Let's go to the next slide. We just keep talking about that. That's France. He was real active. Okay, go ahead. So,
I wonder if they had any idea.
Which one?
I wonder if these folks had any idea what Swiss Days would turn into.
Yeah.
Their little
it
humble
was really
harvest
a big
festival.
Harvest Day. It was a big deal. Yeah.
And I remember you telling me about they had a greased pig that you
they did.
You would go and try to
catch.
catch.
Yeah, it was covered with grease. They'd put him in the arena, and you had to catch him, but you can't catch a greased pig. You're greased. They just slip right past you.
So you didn't catch him?
You didn't. Well, I don't remember anybody catching him because they'd have to get it cornered. It was just a fun, dirty. It was dirty in the sense of mud and everything. Well, this brings me back to a long time. Okay,
That's
better
fun.
go to the next one. Oh, this is the Whitaker family. They took over the restaurant
Schneider's.
Homestead. They called it. They ended up calling it. Yeah.
So they were the ones that named it the Homestead.
They did. It was Snyder's Hot Pots back in those days. You ever heard of Snyder's? Anybody here? Nobody here? Oh, somebody here. Okay. And that's pictures of them.
So the Whitakers had some ties to Hollywood.
They did. Yeah, and that's old Scott standing in the center. There's a whole family of them, pretty well dominated. Oh, there's a picture. It's a good one of Scott back in the 50s. There's Lethe. Lethe's my great aunt. You probably knew that. I have all her journals I started to mention, never got it. At my home or another house. Too many home. But I have all her journals, who's there and who visited her, and everybody likes to come and look at that.
So when was this picture taken?
That was taken about 59 or 60, something or in there. That's
Who's that pretty white-haired lady?
that's Pauline Irwin. Pauline Springer Irwin. She's the one that moved off to California and met all these people like Roy Rogers and Dale Evans and brought them here to the resort.
And then who's this gentleman down here at the bottom?
That's one of the...
Is that Franz?
Franz Probst.
Or Franz Prost?
Mm-hmm. You remember Franz?
Yeah, he was instrumental in the Booster Club early on.
Yeah. Do you remember Franz? Anybody here? Okay,
France?
sorry. Everybody knew Lethe. The building's still there. You know who I'm talking about when I talk about Lethe? Yeah.
This is one of the first brochures, programs for...
Yeah, it is one of the first. When they went from the Midway Harvest Days to Swiss Days. And they listed, not me, that's my grandfather listed there.
Now, it says it is the first annual.
Yeah.
And they've done pretty good keeping it annual, except for the COVID epidemic.
Yeah.
Done one every year.
Yeah. Okay, that's bored them to death. Oh, there's Swiss Days. This is some of the early ones. Clarence Probst, who was over the musical, the chorus. They had a chorus they sang to, and Orma Wallengren was one of her family owned the Snyder's. It was called then. It's now called Mountain Spa. Yeah, that's this is out of the Wasatch Wave. I got that out, and talked a little bit about it, and thought it'd be good in the scrapbook. And that's
1960.
Yeah, it was. It's a good year. This is that same group, only on stage. Yeah.
It's that musical background.
Yeah. Yeah. Later productions. Oh yeah, Julie Milner. Gene Rasman. Do you remember Gene? Anybody here? Okay. They were the Swiss Day Rangers. That's a picture of Lethe. You've seen that before.
These are some prominent citizens of Midway.
Yeah, they were strong Republicans, and that's Arthur Watkins. You might remember. You wouldn't remember him. You wouldn't, but he was a U.S. senator from here, from Midway. And Lethe Coleman, everybody knew her. That's the home across the street from the little restaurant or the grocery store down on Main Street.
Yeah, right.
I think his family still owns the building, I think. Oh, this is just the golf course in Provo Canyon, it looks like. It is Provo Canyon.
Some other influences of getting people up here.
Yeah. Swiss days. And that's the golf course. It's improved it since then. Pretty in the fall, some of that color that you can see down there. And this is just Provo Canyon going down, headed for Provo.
I always think this slide was quite interesting because it shows the census numbers of the city.
It sure grew from 60. If you look at that, just out of sight there for about a 3-year period, our population just boomed.
Yeah, when they formed the boosters, they only had, it looks like, right around 700 people.
Pretty,
and
quite a deal.
It was struggling that way.
Mm-hmm.
And all those efforts definitely paid off.
It did. It did. It's a nice picture. That I don't even if there's any other copies around of that. Okay, go to the next one. I know I'm taking too much time. Oh, that's a nice photo there. That's taken from Memorial Hill. I don't know if you're...
Yeah, you took that picture.
Yeah. That's Snake Creek. I lived up in there two different summers in the mines. I was a nipper with Wild Gertz, I started to mention, and helped get us through BYU and me through Utah State.
And what
That's a nice picture there. That's shows early Midway.
What was your job like up in the mine? What did you do?
What I did is I was the one that helped. When I worked underground, I was a nipper. We were the ones that got everything the miner needed. It was a contract miner that was getting paid by the tonnage. That was a big deal back in those days. And there's still an ore up there. They're just sitting there waiting up for price of gold to go up, and they'll open up in that mine again.
I think that's it.
Was that all of it?
That was the end of that one.
Wow, and they're still awake? Wow. I hope we didn't bore all of you. We went through there awful fast.
With that, I say, cut.
Okay. Come to Midway Swiss days. We need the money. It used to be harvest days, remember? And we don't need the money.
Do you have anything else you want to share with us?
I don't think so. I got some bourbon in here, but it's homemade.
Okay.
No, we're just teasing. Okay, Jerry Springer. I don't know how old I am, but I'm no, I can't remember. I'm 90, 89. I am pretty old. I got it written down somewhere. Hey, I'm serious.
What year were you born?
Is it 37?
1937.
Yeah, you can figure that out, but there's mathematics included. I don't have my calculator, so I can't do it.